Mr. Chair.
Alfred Ngaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just like to make a couple of responses to that member. The first one is that, and I know it's unfortunate because the member wasn't able to be part of the select committee to hear the 17 submissions, to read those submissions, and also to go through the deliberations, the departmental report, regulatory impact report as well. So I do understand that. But what I would like to do is to address the issue, and if the member would like to listen, he did challenge me to address this issue around the conflicts of interest. I'd like to read to the member. He can access this. Is the submission from the Local Government Environment Committee. This is to the Local Government Environment Committee. This is from the Auckland Council themselves, Mr. O'Rourke. In their submission on page 3, paragraph number 11, they clearly state this. Membership of more than one local board at a time has the potential to create perception of conflicts of interest, as local boards are required to represent local interests in the area. Experience has shown that board members have heavy workloads, particularly the full-time chairperson role. It is currently possible for a successful candidate to chair one local board and sit as a member of another. Membership of multiple boards potentially reduces the ability of the person concerned to effectively represent the views and preferences of their different local communities. I know the member may not like it, down in Southland and in the mainland, but up in Auckland, in which this bill actually affects, the Auckland Council, right? This is from the council themselves, directly stating this as well, from their submission. So I think that goes to some way to addressing the issues that were raised there. Just want to do a couple of things in my sort of closing remarks, hopefully, in the closing of this, is the member Sir William Sewell talked about, I suppose, the whole issue around, you know, the aspect of becoming this big super city and what's it called, you know, the 7 to 8 territorial authorities becoming one. There are some key reasons for that. And particularly, for instance, Auckland Plan creates one single strategic plan. The member will know this. He was a previous councillor for the Manukau City Council for the region over the next 20 to 30 years. The member will also Deputy Mayor, yep. The member will also remember that, for instance, there were issues, for instance, where there were contentious bidding issues. Let's take Amity, for instance, where Manukau City Council and the Auckland Council were trying to build two parts of a road to connect them together, and this became a critical issue of concern. So the moving to the one super city was to address issues like this. I hope this doesn't raise an issue for the member. He may want to speak up. I'm only just responding to some of the comments that the member has made. But what it does is that also harmonise 158, and the member knows, current bylaws down to 30 bylaws. So there is a reason around streamlining this in order to be able to have the super city. Look, and it is what we have at the moment, but there were a particular reason for that purpose, and I know that was raised by the member as well. The member, Phil Twyford, talked about the fact of why just Auckland. I want to remind him that in his press release in 2010, the 21st of October, this is what it reads. Labour proposes amendment to close Flaunty loophole. The Labour Party will move an amendment to local government law to prevent local board members from sitting on more than one board in the Auckland super city. Mr. Flaunty, Labour's Auckland issue spokesperson Phil Twyford said that the case of the West Auckland pharmacist Warren Flaunty sitting on 5 boards showed that there was a loophole in their system. And look, I agree with the member, he's absolutely right, and the focus on Auckland in particular, and I suppose in Auckland at the moment, and we know the tracking of this, we've got the local body elections coming up that's happening in October of this year, and that was part of the reason for us doing that. The last comment I want to make is to Mr. O'Rourke, and I hope this doesn't stir him to stand up again, because I think he's made some good contributions to the full and final. Mr. Chair, my final remark...
Mr. Naro is called.
He just wants to keep going. Mr. Chair, my final remark is that to Mr. O'Rourke, who talked about the reason for this bill, and he turned around and he said that, you know, let the people choose. Let the people choose. Well, the reality is that Mr. O'Rourke and I are here because of a system that was adopted. 1996, we had the first MMP election. Why? Because first past the post didn't give us greater representation inside the House of 121 MPs. So the shift and the move around there, sometimes you need to change the system to ensure that we have greater representation in the places where we need to have the voices of people around the table of influence so that we can make those decisions. I know that Mr. O'Rourke may not like that, but that's the reality. And I believe that what this bill does, it's only a small bill, fix a small loophole where we do allow for that representation to exist in those local boards, in those local communities that truly make a difference. So, Mr. Chair, I conclude on those final remarks. I hope that they are final remarks that I'd like to make anyway to this bill. Do want to thank all the members, by the way, for their contributions. They've been great. Happy to take conversations outside in the lobby if they'd like to, and maybe not so in the House. But do want to acknowledge and thank also to the Chairman of the Local Government Environment Select Committee, the fine member, Mr. Scott Simpson, and all the members that were there as well, and their contributions in hearing the submissions. And Mr. Chair, I do commend this bill.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman.